Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to do our team list reactions for round 8 of the 2024 NRL season. Still got a few minutes until 4 o'clock, so as usual we'll quickly run through the Sportsdeck Dream Team results for the week. Another average week for ourselves with 812 points, which was top 41% for the round. Actually dropped 85 spots, so top 28 overall. So all in all, not going too great. But we'll have a look at the team. So Jeremy Marshall-King was obviously quite good with the 63, but Appy was quite disappointing with 14. He was playing against Penrith, and Penrith are a very good defensive team, so probably not worth worrying about there. Josh Curran, he's been awesome with 52. Obviously, got the bye this week, so we will have to work something out there. Terrell May with a 30, so just inconsistent at the moment. I don't know if it's worthwhile moving off, just given, I guess, the options in the front row. We do know he does have that upside, which is very handy. Tom Flegler is still out injured, and if he's not on the team sheet this week, he will be a trade, because we do obviously need some cover in our front row with both Curran and Hughes on the bye this week. Speaking of Hughes, 46, getting another try. So just proves when he does get the minutes that he can score, and obviously that's great for us that have held. So we will continue to do so. In the second row, we had Hopgood with a 43, Smithies with a 41, Salmon with a 46, Nick Rowe with a 46, Finny Filiaki with 38. So, sort of no real upside scores there, but I guess no duds either, which was nice. Obviously, the star of the show was Nicho Hynes with 102, but, I guess given the rest of the team, it wasn't enough for his effort to lift us up in the overall ranks. Ethan Strange with a 31. We could have got a few more points if we played Galvin, but didn't really want to risk it against the Panthers. In the centres, we had Tamari Martin was our trade-in last week. We only did the one trade, and 23 was a bit underwhelming, but he has made some cash, which is nice. Kale Iro with a 43, so he was really solid. But I guess the big myth was Jack Bostock with a 87. So you can see he's averaging 50 for the season, which is pretty crazy. Still not sure why he didn't get dual position. I think they may have just forgotten about him in the Dream Team land, but that's okay. And Talangi coming off the bench getting 9 points isn't ideal. And our wing fullbacks, other than Tommy Turbo with the 63, Tedesco and Pappenhausen were both a bit underwhelming, but I guess that was more of a tighter defensive game that they played against each other. And obviously, Kalen Ponga going down injured, only getting 5 points, didn't help our overall score either. And James Schiller with the 36 has made us a good bit of cash also. So head to head, if we have a bit of a look, last week we got done by Shane's team, the Dragons Lair, by about 50 points. So hopefully still doing well in the overall. We will have a bit of a look in a minute. But just looking at Shane's team, so he had Angus Crichton with a 57. Dylan Brown with a 52 was a nice return. Captain Tommy Turbo, but did have Nicho Hynes, so that's okay. Kai Pearce-Paul with the 64, so he's been a pretty good buy all round. And then I guess the rest we somewhat shared. But again, you can see very consistent throughout, like just trying to work out. Joey Lussick, probably his lowest at 37, obviously matching Appy Coruscant quite well. And then, no 20s and 30s like I had. So I guess that quickly adds up. 50 points overall, despite, I guess, earning an extra 40 points on my captaincy pick. Across the league, looks like a high-scoring game between Hell's Grannies and Field of Dreams. So Hell's Granny had Fanua Blake with 56, Aitken with 54, Olaquatu with the 61. Yeah, both captain Nico Hines. So I think that was the key to a decent score this week. Was cap the C on Nico. But they both had Ponga as well, so did well to get essentially 900 each. So well done, guys. Just have a quick look at the overall side of things just to see how the boys are doing. So Shane has snuck up in just outside the top 50. Field of Dreams has dropped down a little bit, but or is that down and up? I can never work out the ranks. I think it's plus means you moved down because it was 12 on top of the 40. Because yeah, I'm pretty sure these guys were both 40 last week. So Daniel moving up into the or near the top 100 is pretty nice. So still got a few guys doing well overall. Hopefully that can continue. But I guess just quickly touching on trades here before we look at the team lists. I think the obvious one is Kalen Ponga. And we could just do a straight swap to a Drinkwater. Maybe Dylan Edwards, not as keen on that. I know a few people might have to go by average. A few people interested in Charles Nickel Clockstart as a bit of a pod through the origin period. But I guess the really interesting one is Trey Fuller at 204k, so basically bottom dollar. Um, that would be really interesting to open up what would be close to $700 in budget. So obviously we could do a couple of upgrades, perhaps in our forward pack. The other option, I guess, with Ponga's money is we can sort of do a couple of DPP swings with Strange and Martin, for example, and get straight into a bit of Sean Johnson, who's been on the radar for a while. I guess the thing with Johnson is there's been a report that he has got a bit of an ankle or foot concern, I think it was as well, similar to Ponga, but not the same. And basically that he is a chance of resting at some point. So um, I guess it's one of those things that we'll just sort of, monitor it and go from there. Other, I guess, options through the halves, perhaps. Obviously, we've already got Cleary. Jerome Hughes obviously won't play Origin. And the Storm do cover round 13 and 14, so it could be a really good pod. Only 10% owned in Sportsdeck, probably less so in Supercoach and NRL fantasy. Um, just looking through, could obviously get anyone out of a centre or a wing, so like a Tungo or the likes of them. Maybe not a Val Holmes, given he'll be playing Origin, you'd imagine. Lomax could be an interesting point of difference. But yeah, plenty of options, I guess, with what to do. Um, but I guess we'll consider that going into the round on Thursday. So it does start a bit earlier too, just to remind people to get your trades done early before Thursday. But team list should be here, and Nathan Cleary featuring on the front. So as a holder of Cleary, I am very excited for that. Dan Gagai as well. Is he going to be the fullback for the Knights? Let's have a look. So Warriors Titans first off. The Warriors look very much as per usual. So Jacob Laban moving into the starting lineup. I've seen him on the bench a little bit, but moving onto the starting 13 is an interesting development. Might have to have a look at him. Zion Mayu on the bench. I don't know if that'd be his first game. And Paul Roach, I think, played last week as a late in. Yeah, so Mayu on debut. Adam Pompey drops 18th man. So yeah, maybe a couple of guys just to do a bit of research on there. Laban, Mayu, Roach. Haven't really seen them before, so I will have to have a look into it. But maybe Laban in the starting team. particularly if I guess Mayu's, I'm guessing, a front rower. Um, Roach maybe a hooker from memory. But again, got to do some research on those guys. But interesting to see they're in. For the Titans, AJ Brimson named at fullback again. With after that late sort of shift last week. So, given he's eligible in the centre wing as well, could be one to get on as a bit of a pod. Harley Smith Shields still in the team, so that's going all right. Looks like the forward pack is very similar. Cleese Haas still getting a run in the 13, which is good for owners. Cool. So, yeah, I think a couple of interesting youngsters from the Warriors, perhaps, but other than that, nothing too exciting. The Dragons and Roosters. So, the Dragons, again, looking very similar. New Brown on the bench, so I didn't even realise he was at the Dragons. So it looks like he played last week too. So I did miss some late changes and stuff last weekend. Uh, Roosters. So Dom Young back. Did he play last week? Yeah, he's in, so that's good. Back in after his time off. So it looks very much the same. I'm guessing the other guys. Oh, Sam Walker in, didn't pick that up. So Connor Watson in the 14 and Zach Dockett Clay in the reserve. So that probably yeah covers that. Storm and Rabbitohs. So Ryan Pappenhausen, yeah, looks very same from the Storm. So Big Nelson starting. I don't know if he did last week. Imagine he would have. Yeah, unchanged side. Cool. Uh, yeah. And the Rabbitohs, so Jai Gray getting another run at fullback. Damien Cook back at hooker. Um, yeah. So Mamazulis on the bench, so maybe, you know, Damien Cook's not really an option still, even though he is back in the starting team. Jai Arrow on the bench, is that a change? I think so. Yep. So I guess, that might limit someone like a Jacob Host, not that he's overly fantasy super coach relevant, but just more of a interesting note there that Jai Arrow is back on the bench. Sea Eagles and Eels. So the Sea Eagles, we've got very much the same in the back line, I think. Looks, very much the same team as last week. Probably, I know, Aloy is back and Nathan Brown's back, so guess a couple of the guys on the bench there, although Aloy is in the 10. So Lodge is back on the bench. And the Eels, so I guess probably the interesting one here is Ethan Sanders named at 6. There was a little bit of a report that he would debut. It looks like he's got the opportunity. So they've gone through Talangi, they've gone through RC, but I guess a few teams keen on this young fella, so maybe they're just giving him a chance to try and lock him down. So it could be a fantasy relevant one, given he will be bottom dollar. Um, and Mitchell Moses is still a few weeks away. But other than that, Brendan Hand's on the bench, so I guess Joey Lussick. I know he features in my fantasy team, so he might get the chop this week. But we'll see. So, so RC and Talangi both on the extended reserve. So just obviously going with Sanders to try and make something happen. Bryce Cartwright out as well. Why is he out? I've missed that. Oh, I got itchy nose, excuse me. Don't know. I have to look into that, I think. Tigers, Broncos. So the Tigers. Hello, Marlo. Is that a new name on the wing? It's very unfamiliar to me. Yep, NRL debut. So another debutant this week. So, against the Broncos, maybe, not one for fantasy as a replacement for Ponga and the wing fullback, but definitely one just to keep an eye on. Samuel Afonu named in the 12, and John Bateman moved to lock. So that's an interesting little change up of position, I think. Yeah, switching from second row to lock. So maybe John Bateman's one just to keep a little eye on there. And for the Broncos, Adam Reynolds back, Payne Haas back, Pia Cora back. So some big ins for the Broncos. Maybe is Mariner back as well? Yep, Dane Mariner in. They've got Jordan Pereira in, but just on the extras. And looks like they've gone back to the three-man bench. The Tristan Sailor back to the 18. Um, so I guess Wilson playing is good, but I think for those that have got him, he is a hold. Um, look into the future, but could look at getting Payne Haas in if we're struggling in the front row. Pierre Cora, if you've held on to him, I think he's good to go clearly. Um, and yeah, a lot of people getting on Reece Walsh as a replacement for Ponga. Um, I guess just as long as you can cover through Origin, I think that's a fine move. But I'm pretty sure Walsh has got the number one jersey sewn up now, with Ponga being out of action. Cowboys Panthers. So the Cowboys very much the same. Griffin Neem in the starting lineup. That's a little bit of a new development, I think, unless I haven't been following it too closely. And Thomas McKaylee finally getting a run on the bench. There must be someone out. No? Oh, yeah. So Neem replacing Tamalolo as starting prop. Jack Kajeski out. So Thomas McKaylee in. So that's why Jack Kajeski is just down there. So I guess maybe not worth jumping up and down to get him. Have a look, and we'll see if he can sort of build on that pre-season promise that he offered a few of us. And Panthers, so Nathan Cleary, obviously the big name, back in the 7. Other than that, looks very much business as usual for the Panthers. So maybe now Cleary's back. Do we, getting Taylor May as that cut price gun option? I know a lot of people have held and are off him, but it might be time to get on. Dolphins Knights on Sunday, so we'll go to the Dolphins first, but I've already seen the big news there. Trey Fuller looks good at fullback. If you want to pay up in fantasy, you can. In Supercoach, given that he is only fullback eligible, it's a bit of a tougher call. Definitely wait another week. He won't change price until next week. But just, definitely one to keep an eye on. Yeah, the rest of the back line looks as per the program. Max Plath in the 13 is obviously a nice option with a good break even for Supercoach. So if you can slot him into your second row or your 5/8, I don't think he's a bad shout at a good price. And the bench very much as per usual, although Oren Keeley, is he on debut? I know he must have played last week, looks like, so I'll have to have a bit of a look into him too. Jeez, you go away for one weekend and you miss all sorts of action. And for the Knights, the big news, David Armstrong named at fullback to replace Kalen Ponga, so bottom dollar cheapie. So I'd have him above Sanders as a trade-in fantasy, purely just because of job security. But other than that, looks like not too many big changes for the Knights. So yeah, looks like one we can get around there. Raiders Sharks. So for the Raiders, KO Weeks coming in for Jamal Fogarty. So I guess maybe we've now got 3 cheapy options that we can look at this week seriously for fantasy. Obviously, we'll put them on the watch list for Supercoach and Sportsdeck, but um, definitely some potential downgrade options there, which is really nice. Simi Sasagi named on the edge again, so fairly cheap option. I think he's centre wing and Supercoach on the bubble this week, so could be worth a cheeky look perhaps. For the Sharks, looks like Kale Ero's still in, which is a win. Daniel Atkinson named in six, so Braden Trindle's been stood down for a drink driving offence, so it may just be a 1 week deal. So probably wouldn't look at Atkinson too closely, but as always, keep him in mind for potential downgrades later in the season. Um, I guess other than that, probably the big news there is Dale Finucane out. Not that I think he played last week from memory, but he has had to retire. And as a former Bulldog, just well done, Dale, on your career, and good luck with everything else. But yeah, I think that just about covers it because the Dogs are on the bye this week, so it's a bit flat. But yeah, I guess the big news is those three cheapies. So Weeks, um, Armstrong, and if we go up a bit more, there we are, Ethan Sanders. And I guess obviously, the likes of Nathan Cleary back in is a win. I think those are the major talking points. Damien Cook back in, I suppose, but doesn't look like he's super coach or fantasy relevant. And that's about it. So we'll wrap the video up there. As always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the sort of live reaction type video. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.